lecture we have discussed about some network devices, and most of these network devices are used inside when to build a LAN network. Okay, so if you're seeing hub, repeater, bridge, and a switch, they are all the devices that are here. They are only used to build a LAN component. Okay, so in most of the devices you have seen that there is something called a collision domain. So when you introduce a hub and a repeater, there is no difference between the collision domain. Okay, so the collision with the introduction of a repeater or a hub, or without the introduction of a repeater and hub, will remain the same. So exactly when you introduce something called a bridge. Okay, so what happens in that bridge, because it contains a data link layer, so some of the collision domain is decreased. I cannot definitely say how much it is decreased, but I can say that the collision decrease is certainly less than the collision of the collision domain of the repeater as well as the hub. Okay, so if I give you something like this, that I have introduced a hub here and I introduced a repeater, or there a repeater, and I give you something like this, that I have introduced a bridge here. Okay, so I asked you one thing, that which of the following three settings, which of the following three settings the collision domain is minimum. Okay, so you will tick this option, that in this bridge, because bridge certainly reduces the collision domain. It certainly reduces the collision because there is no collision inside the bridge, because it has something called a store and a forward. Okay, store and forward. So that is why inside the bridge there is no collision. It can store a particular signal and send it across other devices. Okay, in the similar way, if you heard about of a switch is one of the most elegant devices, because inside switch there are many circuits, and the links that are inside the switch are full duplex, so the collision is zero. So there is no collision inside a switch. Only the disadvantage of the switch is it is very costly. Okay, so in the previous lecture, all the devices we have talked about are based on LAN component. Okay, so they are called as LAN component, and we are only talking about that, we are only talking about LAN because you have seen that in this bridge you can maximum reach at something called a data link layer. Okay, so you cannot go beyond that. Okay, so if I am inside the data link layer, I am already talking about LAN. So this particular thing I have already cleared, that if you are in the data link layer, you will definitely be talking about a LAN. Okay, so now I'll move towards something called internet. So towards how to move towards this internet is the usage of something called routers. Okay, so just let me open the PPT also. Mm, okay. Okay, so I think we have done the switch. Okay, so another thing is your router. Okay, so router is a device. It is again like a switch. It is also a very versatile device, and that routes the data packet based on their IP address. Okay, so now we are talking about IP addresses. Okay, so in all the previous devices, we haven't talked about IP addresses. We only maximum we are able to talk about something called a MAC address. Okay, so MAC address is the physical address, if you remember, and the IP address is your logical address, if you remember. Okay, so the logical address definition is it should be unique across all around the world. The uh, uh, MAC address definition is that it should be unique inside the present network. Okay, so there is a difference between these two. Now, if you're seeing here that I can go there and look inside the something called IP address, it means it has something called a network layer. Okay, so if it has a network layer, it means it has a physical layer as well as it has a data link layer, and the third thing is it has a network layer. So the router is the only device that contains three layers. Okay, so the three layers are physical layer, data link layer, and network layer. So that is why it is the costliest device of all the devices you may have seen. Okay, so again, you can look at the cost of these devices. Now the cost is reduced quite a bit. Like you can find a router around 1000 to under 1000 rupees also, 1000 to 200, 1000 to 2000 also. But earlier when this particular router was invented, it was very costlier device. Okay, so because the network layer is present there, it can it can look inside the IP address. Okay, so by looking in the by looking inside the IP address, it can look inside a source IP as well as the destination IP. So it means if the IP is made up of something called a host ID and a network ID. So it means it can go towards a particular network inside a particular to a particular network, and in this particular network it can go towards a particular host. So that is the advantage of these routers. Okay, so actually router is used to communicate between various different, it can also communicate between LANs, it can also communicate with different networks as well. Okay, so suppose the advantage of router is, suppose this is your router and it is connected, it can also be connected to a LAN. Okay, so it is, if it is connected to Ethernet LAN, so suppose I say that is connected, this is LAN and this is another LAN that contains token ring. Okay, so now the router placement will be something like this. There will be a physical layer, there will be a data link layer, and then there is a network layer. Again there will be a physical layer, and again there will be a data link layer. Okay, so why it is something like this? Okay, so suppose this is a Ethernet and this is a token ring. Okay, so this Ethernet has a different from frame format, and this has a different frame format. Okay, so I'll talk about when I get there what is the frame format of Ethernet and what is the frame format of token. Just understand that this particular Ethernet contains a different frame format and this particular Ethernet contains a different frame format. Okay, so it other thing is something, this particular thing has a different MTU. This again has a different MTU. MTU is the size of the packet. Suppose it MTU means maximum transmission unit. So this Ethernet has a maximum transmission unit of around, suppose I'll say it only takes 2200 bytes. Okay, but the token ring only takes like 100 bytes. Okay, so there is a difference between these two. How to do a communication between them, because the maximum transmission unit is totally different from the Ethernet from the token ring. Okay, so what exactly is happened? So for this particular different frame size, uh, it goes from this particular side and it looks into the data link layer and see that there is a particularly different frame format. Okay, so actually this router convert this because it is at the side of a Ethernet, and this particular is at the side of a token ring. Okay, so it looks at the at particularly this the format, different frame format of Ethernet, and it sees that now I have to communicate with the token ring. Okay, so the frame format in token ring is totally different. So what it converts this frame format so that the token ring will easily understand it. Okay, so it is the sole responsibility of the router to convert this frame format so that the token ring can understand this frame format. Other advantage of this is if the MTU size is different. Okay, so here the maximum MTU size is of 200 bytes, and here the maximum transmission MTU means just a packet. Okay, so it is a packet of 200 bytes. Okay, but if you send a 200 size packet directly to the token ring, it cannot accept it because it can maximum accept a transmission unit of only 100 bytes. So that is a very complex problem. So what does router do? A router just divides this 200 byte packet into two packets. The first packet is of 100 byte and the second packet is of 100 byte, and it sends the packet by something called routing, and one by one it sends the packet to a token ring. Okay, so at the token ring, when because it's a token ring, and inside this token ring there will be a particular host. So at that particular host there will also be a network layer, so that the responsibility of this network layer is to combine these two packets to form again 200 bytes. Okay, so that is that how this network layer does. If you remember, that network layer has something that has a function of fragmentation. Okay, so I have told you explicitly that network layer can fragment, or it can divide the packet based on the size of the MTU that a particular LAN or a particular network accept. Okay, so again keep in mind that these both LANs are based on the same protocol. If it is a TCP/IP, it will again, this token ring is also based on TCP/IP. Keep that thing in mind. I'm only using one network architecture, so the router is only able to communicate between the devices which has only one network architecture. If I am using here TCP in Ethernet, I will always use TCP here in token ring also. So the fragmentation uh, always occurs at a network layer. Keep in mind, if you just revise the previous lecture, I have told you something that the responsibility of network layer is fragmentation and routing. So routing is to just find the shortest path, but fragmentation is to divide the maximum transmission unit, so that the other connected network can accept whatever is the network transmission unit there. Okay, so it can happen that the network transmission unit of one Ethernet or one LAN is greater than the maximum transmission unit of another one. So how to deal with it? You just divide it into a maximum transmission unit. Like here there are, it is, here is 200, here is 100. So the network layer of it that is present inside the router, it can divide this into 100 and 100, so that it can transfer it into the another LAN network. Okay, so that is the biggest advantage of the router, because it contains a network layer, so it has some added functionality that other devices does not contain. Okay, so it can connect different LANs, but it can also connect different WANs means it can also connect different networks, different networks between devices. Okay, so router is mainly a network layer device. Routers normally connect LANs. So LAN is this Ethernet and token ring, and it can also connect WAN. Okay, so WAN is also there, and have a dynamic updating routing table. Okay, so all the disadvantage of I'll tell you about this dynamic of the routing table. So it is the same thing that we have discussed. If you remember, we have discussed this in bridges. Okay, so bridges have, in case of transparent bridges, what they do is they send a packet and they dynamically update that a particular device is present in a particular device, or a particular workstation is present or is connected to them. In the similar way, there is something called a routing table. So routing table also contain all the entries of the route, or the devices that follows a particular route. Okay, so that is also a dynamically updated. Okay, so that if you see that all the advantages that the previous device contain, it will also contain it. So filtering is also there, forwarding is also there. All the feature that we have discussed in other dumb devices are already there. Okay, so if a physical layer devices had some advantage, it will have those advantage. If a data link layer has some advantage, it will have those advantage. And if network layer device is only, this device is a network layer device, so it contains more advantages or more functionality than your switches or your bridges. Okay, so uh, router divide the broadcast domain of host connected through it. Okay, so router can also broadcast, and as well as single cast or a multicast. So it depends upon the router what you want to do. Okay, so in the packet, if there is signal at the network link layer, there is signal. The signal says that broadcast to all. Okay, so I'll tell you about it. This is particularly denoted by all once inside a packet. Okay, so if the packet contain this FFF entry, it means that you have to broadcast this particular packet to all the connected devices. So router has a very big advantage that it can broadcast the packet, as well as it can multicast or a single cast. It can singly send send a packet to a different device, or it can multicast. It can send the device from, or send the packet to two or more devices. So that is also the advantage of a router. In the previous, you may have you seen that either the device can broadcast or the device can multicast. Okay, so that is also the advantage of a router, that it can broadcast, it can multicast, it can also send a particular packet to a single device as well. Okay, so again, this the advantage or the advantages of using a router are very high, because if you're seeing, it can do routing also, because routing, I will tell you about routing. It's different algorithms are there are various kinds of routing. So and the routers can also do routing by routing means that it can find the minimum path, or it can find the least shortest distance to travel between two LANs, or travel between two different wide area networks. Okay, so filtering, or there is something called collision. So collision domain, because if you remember, the switch has a collision domain 0. That was also a data link that contains data link layer. So it is again extension of it. So the collision domain of this router is again 0. So there is nothing, there is no collision inside the router. Okay, so because it is an intelligent device, it again now contains a network layer, so there is no collision. Okay, so the next devices is your last device is your gateway. Okay, so gateway is again an extension to a router. So that every definition that is given here is one step further than the previous device. Okay, so now if you see, may have seen, I have started with the hub, I have started with the repeater, and then I've gone to hub. So again, hub is one step ahead of repeater. In the similar way, gateway is one step ahead of router. Okay, so the only thing that is different from the router is that router, if there is a router, so suppose a router can connect two networks that is following, like if there is a TCP, then if there is a TCP, then it's fine. Okay, so the router can easily connect it. This is your router. Or if there is another network architecture like ATM, so it is asynchronous transfer mode, and another network architecture like ATM. So again, there is a router, that is fine. So because already all the layers and all things are defined there. But if there is from one side there is TCP, and from one side there is another network architecture, that is your ATM. Okay, so another architecture, the router will not be able to do that. Okay, so gateway, so to enable this functionality, we introduce something called a gateway. Now gateway can also connect different network architecture between devices. Okay, so here I'll denote gateway by a G, and this gateway is able to communicate. It is able to connect two different network architecture. So this is your TCP/IP, and this is your ATM, any other device. So why it is able to do that? Because it contains something called a protocol converter. Okay, protocol converter. So what happens is that this protocol converter, because the protocols that are used here are different, and the protocol that are used here are different. So it is the responsibility of the gateway to take a look at this protocol, and to convert all the protocols that are inside the TCP into something that the ATM protocol, so that it converts the protocols that comes from TCP into something that ATM can easily understand. Okay, so all the protocols may be same, may be different, but it converts it. So that is why the gateway are also called protocol converters. Okay, so it can again operates at a network layer. So again, it is at it has a physical layer, it has a data link layer, and it has a network layer. In addition to it, it has something called a protocol converter. Okay, so protocol converter enables this particular functionality that it can connect to different networks which contains different network architecture. So that is the biggest advantage of gateway. Okay, so it is very complex first of all, and it is very costly. Okay, so it is again costlier than router because it contains the added functionality of a protocol converter, but it also contain many extra functionality. It contains something called proxy. If you heard about something, a proxy, what exactly is a proxy, I'll tell you about a little bit further. But proxy, I'll tell you, it can monitor the device or can monitor every byte that you are sending. So that is the advantage of it. It can monitor every byte of data that you are sending. It means that if you are accessing your college network, so most probably in your college network there will be a gateway used for exactly this functionality. Why they are using this gateway? Because in many colleges, I'm not in many colleges, what happens is that if there is a quota that is present for the students earlier, like a student can use 2 GB data from the college internet per day. Okay, so that particular proxies or that particular functionality is enabled by a gateway. Okay, so gateway has something called a proxy. With the help of it, it can monitor a data that every student or every traffic that is communicating through it. Okay, so if a particular student has a quota of 2 GB, it can monitor it and can disable the access of a particular student after seeing that the student has exhausted his quota for the day. Okay, so that I think there were colleges that if you are in 2013 or 12 or 13, at that time the internet was very costlier, but at college the internet was free. So most of the student has given a day quota that you can use 2 GB internet per day or 3 GB internet. In many colleges right now also they use a particular amount of upper limit that student cannot go beyond a particular quota. So for this particular things, the gateway are responsible. Okay, so again, gateway eliminate the usage of router because it already contains the usage of router, because it contains the network layer. So it means it can do fragmentation as well as it can do routing. So it eliminates the use of the router, that you do not want to use a router because it has a added functionality. Okay, so now if you're seeing the network devices, every network devices has something unique. Okay, so every network devices that I have shown you is arranged in such a way that every every step that you reach, there will be something advanced in every other. Okay, so if I said that starting with the repeater, it does not have anything, it just repeats the signal. After that there is a hub, it is an extension to repeater because repeater has only 2 ports, hub has 4 ports, and it can again send the again it does the same thing. In a similar way, when we reach towards a bridge, that there is an extension to again a hub, because a bridge contains something called a data link layer. Because of the data link layer, there are many added functionality. In the similar case, we have a switch also contain a data link layer. With the help of a data link layer, it has again added functionality. And again, then we till there we are only talking about the LAN component, but the introduction of a router, we can connect to two different LANs as well as two different fans. Why it is a LAN? Because router also contain a data link layer. So with the help of a data link layer, it can again connect to different LANs as well as to different networks as well. Okay, but with the help of a network layer, it can do something. It can look inside the IP address, source and network IP, Just wait a second. I will tell you that how exactly all the layers are coming into play to do communication. So I have prepared the example, so it will be easy for you to understand. So just understand that these devices playing a very important role in communication. Okay, so I'll take example and I'll introduce all these devices. I'll introduce ARP. I'll introduce other network protocols, so to make this a very easy thing to understand. Okay, so till now you just remember that there are network devices, and every network devices has something unique to it. Okay, so suppose the gateway, why it is unique? Because it contains something called a protocol converter that the network is not able to do, but it is able to do. So protocol converter enables this gateway to connect to different network architecture. Till now, I think these are your main network devices. You may have seen these devices in your lab, but these are the added functionality. So with the introduction of the OSI layer, I think you may be able to understand that what exactly the network layer is doing here. So all the functionality that is defined in the OSI layer, here again I am repeating the same thing. Okay, so now moving on to the physical connection, because I haven't discussed about this, because I told you that in the previous lecture I've shown you that the LAN component is hub, repeater, bridges, switch, and there is something called a wire. Okay, so I haven't discussed about this wire because the wire is again comes under something called a transmission medium. So let me show you the transmission medium. Okay, transmission medium. Okay. So transmission medium has a different types. So these are the types here. The transmission media is particularly divided into two parts. First part is guided media and second part is unguided media. Okay, so all of this is a theory part. I think if you read it yourself, you can easily understand it. But there are some points that I definitely want to tell you. Okay, so the guided media contains, it will most probably will be form of wires. These are the different wires that you are seeing. Unguided media, particular thing will be wireless as well. It will contain some waves or some kind of communication or wireless communication that does not require any wire. Okay, keep in mind unguided media is your wireless and guided media is your wires. Okay, so wires are again divided into different parts, that is coaxial, fiber optics and twisted. And again, the coaxial is divided into baseband, broadband. I think I've told you about baseband and broadband. I will repeat it also. Fiber optic, there is no type for fiber optic, is only of one type, and twisted is again of two types. It is unshielded and shielded. So most of the time you will use a shielded twisted cable, but unshielded twisted cable, because unshielded twisted cable is again it is not, it is a cheaper than the shielded one. Okay, so shielded is a much more reliable, but unshielded is used mostly because it is a way cheaper. Okay, so unguided media contains radio waves, microwaves and infrared waves. Okay, so these are the part of the spectrum. I'll tell you about it. Okay, so now the first is your guided media. So it is also referred to as a wired or bounded transmission media. Okay, signals are ductily transmitted, so ones and zero will transfer through these wires. Okay, keep in mind. Okay, so the features are, they are high speed because everything is connected to a wire. They are high speed, they are secure, and they are used for shorter distances. Okay, so the wired media will always be used for shorter distances, because uh, if you want to communicate with anyone and you uh, the wire is not a very reliable way. Okay, so what happens is that if you take a wire and it to stretch it 100 kilometers, suppose you stretch it 100 kilometers and you want to connect it this to particular computer. So what happens is that there are many factors that makes this communication very unreliable. First of all, there if there is electrical outage. Okay, so if there is electrical outage, the signal will be lost. If there is no, a noise, if there is something noisy element present there that disrupt your signal, that can also disrupt your signal, and the communication will be rendered useless. And another will be that if your wire is broken, so what happens then? Okay, so always that is why the wires are mostly used for shorter distances. If you want a longer range, you will always use a wireless media. Okay, so that twisted pair is one of the easiest ones. So I've shown you the figure here. So this is a jacket. So just a jacket means just a protective plastic. It can be a protective plastic or it can be another material, but it is just a protective layer that is used. Okay, so if you're seeing here twisted pair cable, why you take a single cable and you just twist it together. So that is how you form a twisted cable. So you will be thinking that what is the advantage of this twisted cable? Why do I use this twisted cable? Why cannot I just do the cable like this? So I can again do I can use the cable straightly. Okay, so keep in mind that the first that one wire is of ground reference. Okay, so one wire is of ground reference and the other wire where your main signal is transmitted. Okay, so with what happens is that when you are transferring a signal from a sender to a receiver, when you are sending a signal, so there is something called a ground reference, and when the receiver receives a particular signal, what it do from the signal, the receiver subtracts whatever is in the ground reference. Okay, so whatever is in the ground reference, the receiver just subtracts it, and whatever is the answer is the signal that it is received. So keep in mind, so I'll again repeat it, I don't think you will understand what I'm saying. So suppose this is a sender and this is a receiver. Okay, so when they are using twisted pair cable, they are sending two signals. The sender send two signals. First is the bits itself, that the particular message that you want to send, and the second is a ground reference. Okay, so ground reference. When you transmit the signal, when the receiver receives it, what the receiver do, that it subtracts the message from the ground reference. Whatever is received at the receiver, this will it will see it is as the message that the particular sender wants to send. Okay, so keep in mind that that is what happens. Something that is the why the ground reference is used there. Okay, so actual signal is transmitted through this one, but you will be thinking why I'm using a different ground reference, why I'm sending this. So why I'm sending this is because this is just used for if there is any kind of error during the sending. Okay, so what happens is that suppose I'll give you a little bit of example. Suppose the message is something like 0110. Okay, so I'm just taking a little bit of example. So the ground reference will be something like this one. Okay, so this one we one, or this one will be 0 and this one will be 1. Okay, so why now in this particular example I'm saying you are subtracting it. Okay, so you can also add it, you can also subtract it, but the standard that is agreed there is that you should subtract it. Okay, so when you do a binary subtraction, what will happen? So 0 minus 1 will be 1 there. So this is the rule of a binary subtraction. If you remember that, it will taken here from. So just remember the rule of subtraction, that whenever there is 0 minus 1, I'm not taking any carry, I'm not taking anything. Do not want to complicate anything. So 0 minus 1 is 1. So 1 minus 0 is 1. So these are the rule that I have defined. 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so 0 minus 0 is 0. Okay, so only this rule is different. Okay, so 0 minus 1 is 1, 1 minus 0 is again 1, and 0 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so now I know that the ground reference, after subtracting the bit message from the ground reference, my answer is 111. Okay, so when I receives the message at this particular message is received at the receiver, so actually receiver will again check for it that after subtracting it, can I get a 111? Okay, so if it is getting a 111, the receiver knows after subtracting the bit message from ground reference, it is getting 111. So it knows that they are on the way, there is nothing changed. Okay, so there is nothing changed, the message I got is the right one, so it can just directly take this particular message and introduced it towards the receiver. So that is why there is a ground reference that is used inside this particular twisted pair cable. Now see, now you will be thinking why I twist the cable, why didn't I just use the cable directly? So what happens is that whenever there is something called crosstalks. Okay, so crosstalks happen when there is a particular element that suppose this is the element. From this element, there is interference with the communication that is going on. Okay, so if it is a straight wire, suppose this is the element, suppose this is a source of a wire. So this is the source of the noise when it is affecting one side of the wire. So this is your wire 1, this is your wire 2. It is affecting one side of your wire. So whatever is the signal, whatever is the number of bits that are given here, it will be definitely corrupted. So that I am pretty much sure. Okay, but when the wires are twisted like this, the signal will affect both the wires in the same way. Okay, so if you're seeing here, if the signal is corrupted here, another one the signal is corrupted here. So by corrupting a little bit of it means that if because the source that is corrupting the signal will be what do you say, will be constant. Okay, so if I just change the placement of the wire, this particular effect just cancels out. So that is why we cross the wires. Okay, so if it is affecting wire 1 and again the wire is changed here, so it is not because the placement of the wire in such a way that if affected the signal for a very little amount of time, again the wire is changed. For again, this is again affected a very little amount of time, again the wire is changed. So due to this, the effect of this particular noise source is nullified. So that is why we twist the wire. So that is the biggest advantage of twisted cable. Okay, so your jacket, this jacket is particularly will be of a plastic cover. So it is just a protective layer, it is nothing more than that, it is just a protective layer. So twisted pair cable, the frequency range of a twisted pair cable is 0 to, keep in mind that it is the frequency range of it. A twisted pair cable contains two insulated copper wire arranged in a regular spiral pattern. Okay, so it is a spiral pattern. The degree of reduction in noise interference it determine the number of turns. Okay, so the more the number of turns per foot, it decreases the noise interference. So what is the noise interference? I have already told you that why we twist the wire. So there is a definite advantage of twisting the wire. If you introduced more twist across more twist per foot, it means that you have increased the frequency of the twisting. Then the noise source will not be able to do much harm. So that is why we use rather than we using the straight wire, we use the twisted pair cables. Okay, so this particular cables will also be shown I think in your in this week's lab in your practical experiments. Okay, so again this twisted pair cable consists of two types, that is an unshielded twisted pair and a shielded twisted pair. Okay, so again they are one in the same thing, but there is some element here. So I'll show you the diagram if there is some diagram here. Okay, so the unshielded twisted pair is divided into definitely many parts. So first one is category 1. Category 1 is mostly used for telephone lines that have a low speed data. Category 2 is the transfer is between 4 Mbps, and category 3 16 Mbps. Whatever is the category, the if the category is increased, the bandwidth is of this particular wire is also increased. Keep in mind this is 4 megabits. Okay, So this always in CN, keep in mind that whenever there is B used, so this particular B means bit. This, if it is a capital B, it means byte. There is a difference between both of this. Okay, so 4 MB means 4 megabits per second, because if you have to convert it into a byte, you just divide it by 8. Okay, so these are unshielded twisted pair. So there are advantages is that it is very cheap. So most of the time you will always use unshielded tips. I'm talking about practical environment. The shielded twisted pairs are very less used. Exactly, the industry is dominated by unshielded twisted pair. So installation of it's very easy. It can be used for high speed LAN. So mostly we are using these twisted pair for LAN. So it is very rare that in LANs there is some kind of a in some kind of a noise element that is coming there. Okay, but this cable always remember it is will be used for shorter distances because of the attenuation. So attenuation means that there is some element present there, something that disrupts the signal. Okay, so attenuation is like equivalent to something called a noise. Okay, attenuation is the meaning of it is, I think, loss. Okay, so the next one is your unshielded twisted pair. So it looks something like this. Okay, so it is one and the same thing. It just on every, if you, the diagram that I showed earlier, that was also of unshielded twisted pair. The shielded twisted pair is they introduced a little metal shield there. Okay, so this is a shielded twisted pair. So this is your metal shield that they have introduced. Again, this is some kind of a plastic cover. It can be a plastic cover. No, it is a plastic cover. Sorry, it is a plastic cover. This particular thing is your metal shield to this metal shield particularly again shields a particular wires from a particular noise element. So that is why this metal shield is used. It is advantageous that there is no interference between them. So the little interference that was in unshielded twisted pair, in this, by the introduction of this metal shield, everything is just eliminated. So that is why shielded twisted pair has a advantage that it does not cause any kind of interference. Okay, so the cost is increased. The cost of the shielded twisted pair is not very high, not very low. So it is a little bit, but it is higher than the unshielded twisted pair, but it is not very high. I must say it's not very high. So in installation, again, the advantage is whatever is the advantage of the unshielded one, it's the advantage of this one. It has a higher capacity because it is as compared to unshielded. So you can it has higher attenuation. It is shielded, that provides a higher data transmission rate. So again, the disadvantage here is more expensive. Yeah, absolutely. And it has a higher attenuation rate. So with the introduction of metal, the attenuation rate increases, not decreases, means it has. Okay, so I'll just wait for a second. Just wait. Just wait for a second. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so attenuation rate means that again the signal loss that with the introduction of metal is again increases. Okay, so signal loss, why the signal is lost when you introduce the metal? So metal again has certain properties that itself disrupt the signal. So that is why by introducing a shielded material, the material, because of the metal, there is again attenuation loss there. So again, it can be reduced by using a particularly different element, but with the introduction of it, the attenuation rate again increases. So that is a disadvantage. That is why I've said most probably the unshielded twisted pair are used more often, because it does not have attenuation. It has a very lower attenuation. If you are sending a signal from one particular sender to a particular receiver, the loss is very, very less between them. So that's it. Again, another one is your coaxial cable. So this coaxial cable is mostly used if you are if you have cable TV in your home, you mostly have seen this cable. Okay, so this is a particularly jacket. This is your plastic cover, and there is a shield in there. After this shield, there is a insulator again. So this is again a protective layer. Inside this, there is a center conductor. So this if you have a cable TV at homes, you mostly in your setup boxes, you have seen this particular wire. Okay, so this is your coaxial wire. So this insulator is also called as your outer conductor or outer shield. So this enables, this enables a little bit of less kind of attenuation, or it definitely affects the signal to be lost less. Okay, so this particular shield protects it from any other noise source or any other external material, that external source that can disrupt the signal. Okay, so that is why it's mostly used in high speed communication, that is your TV, cable TV, and high speed telephone networks also. Okay, so coaxial cable is very commonly used for TV wire. Okay, so it is a very useful. Okay, so you may have seen your cable TV something like this. The name of the cable coaxial. So because it contains two conductor that are parallel to each other. Okay, so for if this particular cable is cutted. Okay, so it is shown like this, but inside this protective layer there is a shield. Inside this shield there is insulator or outer shield. Inside this outer shield there is your main copper wire. Okay, so that particular coaxial cable is shielded. This is first shield, this is second shield, this is third shield. Okay, so this is a threefold shield. Then there is a conductor, that is your copper wire. Okay, so that is why it is a it has a higher frequency as compared to a twisted pair cable. Because of this higher frequency, we use this cable to transfer all the cable network signals. Okay, so the inner conductor is made up of copper and the outer conductor is of copper mesh. Okay, so mesh means so something, it will be like this, like this particular mesh. Okay, so I'll show you the cable if we have it in the lab, that there is a particular mesh. If you have a cable TV, you can easily just there will be a white portion there, and if you take the white portion, there will be a little bit of a mesh. You can easily see it something like this. Okay, so the middle part is responsible for data transferring. Copper mesh prevents it from electromagnetic interference. Okay, so that is your noise source. So the internal copper mesh, it's very effective in interference. So in this particular coaxial cables, there is a very low attenuation rate. The loss is very low, because in your cable TVs the loss, signal loss is very less. Okay, so there will be very rare. It will be very rare when you see that your cable signal TV, your cable TV is breaking up. So it will be very rare. It happens, but it is very rare. Okay, so the types of coaxial cable is your baseband cable, it is broadband. So baseband cable is mostly be used for one-way communication. Okay, so all your cable TV or cable signal, that is one-way communication, though they take a wire and they uh, attach it to your home. So there is a one-way communication. So they are the cable TV operator are always sending a signal to your homes. Okay, so broadband transmission, this particular broadband transmission can also happen. So broadband transmission can also be used for thin and thick Ethernet. Okay, so again, this broadband, because it can send multiple signal simultaneously. So this particular thing can be used for internet connection, or it can be used for Ethernet connection as well. If you want to establish a LAN, so this particular thing can also be particularly used. Okay, so again, keep in mind that uh, coaxial cable can be used for cable TV. Okay, so cable TV. So I'll tell you the category also. So if the category is, I'll tell you the category. So just remember it's important. if the category of the coaxial cable is RG59, so it particularly it will be used for cable TV. Okay, so if the category of this cable of this coaxial cable is RG58, so they will be used for thin Ethernet. So thin Ethernet means that it is a Ethernet, but it is a LAN, but it is not a high-speed LAN. Okay. So again, RG11 is another standard that is used for thick Ethernet. Okay. So this particular thing that in this particular you can transfer at high speed. This is your high speed data, thick internet. Okay. So just don't remember internet. So that is a totally different thing. I do not want to include that particular thing here. Okay. So mainly there are three standard for this coaxial cable. Okay. So advantages and disadvantages are there. You can look into it. So again, there is a fiber optic one. Okay. So fiber optic one, I have to explain it. So I'll explain in the next lecture. This is a bit interesting. So whatever you have studied in your 10th class, I think you have seen 10th class science that will be particularly used here. Okay, so fiber optic is a bit interesting. I'll tell you about it. Okay, the remaining part I will discuss in the next lecture. And if you have any doubt, just let me know. I hope that this particular recording will be complete and it have a audio as well as a visual.